Alright everybody, what's up? This is Jack with SGTV. To any returning viewers, thanks for, I want to say on behalf of Spy and myself, thank you for your continued support. To anybody who's new to the channel and is just now discovering us through this video, Spy Gaming makes content surrounding video games, or highlighting video games and industry news, and we cover events surrounding the gaming community. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and make sure you got the bell notification excuse me, make sure you got the bell notifications turned on. That way you are notified every time a new video drops. Currently we are at least putting out new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sometimes we slip in some surprises on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our main focus currently is a game that Spy and myself both enjoy very much, which is Elder Scrolls Online. So we're kind of building out a reference guide, you know, for current players, new players, you know. Some of the stuff in this game can be not a lot of it, but some of the stuff in this game can be kind of complicated to figure out. So one of the things we've been doing is dungeon run guides, and that is going to be what today's video is. The last dungeon run we did was Banished Cells 2. It was a little bit lengthy. Banished Cells 2 is a little more difficult dungeon, and for anybody who's been following the channel, you know that my character here, Jack's Ruinous Nature, is built to tank. I swapped a few things up going into this dungeon, this is Darkshade. There's some good sets that come out of here for stamina builds, like the Automaton, but I switched up some stuff. That way maybe I put out a little bit more damage. Skills mainly. I didn't switch any gear, but anyhow, me and another individual we play with, Solus, he is our healer. We're going to be running this dungeon today and explaining the mechanics of the different boss fights and everything, and I'll cover what sets drop and whatnot. So but yeah, we'll go ahead and get into that before we get into the dungeon itself. So Darkshade is down here in the southeastern corner of Deshaan, and there are, I say this every time, but just in case, you know, this is the first video you're watching, I want everybody to know, especially if you're new to the game, there are 4 ways to get into a dungeon. The first way is you can do what we've done here and just walk up to the front door of it. The other way is to, let's see if I can find it here. Alright, Group and Activity Finder. You can go down here and you use the Dungeon Finder. And you may land in the dungeon if you just random queue, you know, through random normal or random bet dungeon. That, I guess, kind of, the other way is to queue in through specific dungeons. This is what you would do, like if you picked up one of the Undaunted pledges, or if you were just trying to find a group to help you run a dungeon that had sets in it that you wanted to farm. You can do that. You can go in and, you know, right here, Darkshade Caverns 1, Darkshade Caverns 2. We're going to cover 1 today. The next video will be 2, and we're just going to continue to go down this list until we make it through all of them. Now I realize it starts repeating itself right here at Veteran. We are going to do Veteran runs. They're not going to be as educational. It would just be a demonstration of how different. So like Fungal Grotto 1 here and Veteran Fungal Grotto 1, there's achievements attached to these dungeons. So running them on normal right now for educational purposes, just so you can have something to watch and kind of understand the dungeon and how it works before you walk into a veteran dungeon where you can go get achievements. So, sorry, I needed a drink. Anyhow, so that's 3 ways. The other way is you can simply go to a way shrine. Like you could pick this way shrine here, walk up to it, and you could teleport directly into the dungeon. So before we get into this, I'll go ahead and cover the sets that drop in here. So in Darkshade Caverns 1, there are 3 sets. You have a light set, which is Netch's Touch. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and bring this up. Collectibles. Netch's. No, not combat pets. Outfit styles, maybe. No. I think it's going to be sets. There we go. Sorry. I'll get there eventually. Alright. So the light set in here is Netch's Touch. You get 618 spell crit, 1032 max magicka, 121 spell damage, adds 377 spell damage to your shock damage abilities, which is, it's not an overall terrible set. It's very specific in what it does, though. So the other set, if I can spell this correctly. Alright, Strength of the Automaton. This is very much a stamina set. It's actually a decent set. Spy runs this on his Warden. Strength of the Automaton gives 618 weapon crit, 1032 max stam, 121 weapon damage, adds 377 weapon damage to your physical and bleed damage abilities. So, if you're a bleed heavy build or something similar, then this is probably a good set for you. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, somebody has texted me and it seems important, so let me address it real quick. Alright, and the last set is going to be the Armor of Truth. So the Armor of Truth is a heavy set. It 618 weapon crit, 1032 max stamina, 121 weapon damage. When you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your weapon damage is increased by 433 for 10 seconds. So not bad at face value. It's maybe not some stuff you would run in some in-game content, but and then we got Sentinel of Rkugamz. I'm sure I murdered that. Anyway, this monster set drops in Darkshade 1. It adds 4% healing done. When you heal yourself or an ally, you summon a Dwemer spider that heals for 965 health and restores 121 magicka and stamina to you and your allies within 5 meters every 1 second for 8 seconds. Can occur every 15 seconds. So this is one of the healer sets in the game. Before we get in here, you have one more thing before we get in here. We got 6 bosses. There's 3 mini bosses and 3 primary bosses. Get out of that window there. As always, there's, you got trash mobs that you run into in between boss fights, and some of them, they come along with the boss fights. Anyway, the ones we'll be running into here are Pit Thugs, Taskmasters, Elites, Quama, Netch, and Dwemer Constructs primarily. Heavy attacks from Hads and charges from Quamas might need to be watched out for, but in general, the hope is we are going to burn them down. So, anyhow, all right, we're going to go ahead and get into this thing. So, let's go ahead and do this. See if my skeleton buddy over here is ready. And whenever you go to walk in, you want to pick Darkshade Caverns 1, Mine All Mine. I was going to bring Spy, but just so everybody knows, this particular dungeon gives him nightmares a little bit. I do not have the quest, so I won't be able to pick it up. However, I think we'll be okay. So, that's new and buggy looking. There we go. Alright. Looks like my buddy here has got his none of the trash mobs in here are really too bad. Just kind of be aware of your surroundings, I guess. And if needs be, ultimate, burn them down. So the Kwama wardens are the ones you gotta watch for. Oh, get up. Alright, so we're coming up on the first boss encounter. And that's her right there, Head Shepherd Melorian. My sustain is garbage right now. Quick work of that. Alright, so Head Shepherd Melorian. She has a heal, which is probably the most annoying ability for low damage groups. Can be interrupted. She has a heat wave. Sometimes the boss will send out a trail of fire, which you can easily avoid by stepping aside. Can also be bashed and completely avoided. And then charge fire, which from time to time the boss will lift her staff into the air and cast fireballs that will then explode on the ground. Try to avoid these, and especially avoid standing in them, as they will cause a good amount of damage. Alright, so that was boss 1. Let's get moving. Chest, I'm not gonna worry about that. don't think so, buddy. Alright, so this guy is a caster, which means you gotta tank him where he stands, which can be annoying. Ooh, there we go. Alright. So, Foreman Llothan has extracted poison. Throwing a bottle of poison at a player causes a lot of damage. If the player ignores it and continues standing in it, even as a tank, you should be stepping out of it, unless you absolutely know you can survive it. Diversion. This skill usually happens directly after the boss has thrown down a vial of poison. If you're standing too close to him for a large amount of time, he will cause an explosion that will stun you and cause a moderate amount of damage, and starts running off to a different spot. He will repeat this until he dies. Quama Summon, which was where the ads kept coming from, respectively, at 75, 50, and 25% health, the boss will spawn a couple of Quama to help him fight you. Just burn him down. Alright. Next. Let's move on. This dungeon really doesn't take all that long. It'll seem like it's taking longer, primarily because I'm stopping to explain the mechanics, but I want everybody to understand what's going on. It's really terrible whenever you walk in and don't understand. So alright. What was that? Proc off on him. There we go. I know a lot of these, so I do want to say this. I know a lot of these videos, you don't necessarily see myself or Spy or whoever's in it doing the mechanics. It's primarily, and this is probably bad form, but it is what it is. Alright, so that was the Hive Lord. So Hive Lord has overhead smash, it's conal attack, and can cause a lot of damage, which is why you should turn the boss away from the group if you're the tank, and everyone else should be standing behind the boss. Be also sure to block this because you can get staggered. Leap is that he will leap at a random player that is too far away, causing them to get stunned. Best practice is to stand closer to the boss so he doesn't leap, so it's kind of like a clan fear mechanic. Keeping the boss relatively stationary is important. Summon Scribs, which that was very apparent going on throughout that fight. And then he also has Ground Pound. It's a really large AoE, which is where the whole ground turned pink, from which there is no escape unless you bash the Hive Lord. If no one bashes him, he will continue doing this pounding of the ground, causing a large amount of damage. So, as I was saying, I know, I'm aware, and it's probably real bad form to be this way, but I feel like it kind of is what it is, and I've just gotten used to not doing the mechanics on stuff and just burning the boss if I know it can't. If I know it can be killed beforehand, which is, again, bad form, I'm aware. Weapon swap before I was supposed to. But that's the whole reason I'm going back and explaining what is actually going on. That way, everybody is aware fully. Alright, Cavern Patriarch. The Cavern Patriarch has 2 skills. It just looks big and scary for no reason. The first is a slap, which is a very basic heavy attack. Ideally, the tank should be getting hit by this. If you don't block it, it will throw you on the ground and you will be immobilized. The other is Poison Cloud, which I saw it. It was on screen. You may go back and watch it just to see what it looks like visually, because sometimes that's your only cue that something's going on. In random intervals, a poison cloud will appear, usually beneath the boss. Since this is a really huge cloud, it's very advisable to reposition the boss if you're the tank. So that way, not only the tank, but also any melee damage dealers can reach the boss easily, otherwise move out of range of it, because the cloud deals a pretty good amount of damage. Alright, so this next one is one that I can safely say people often miss, because you have to run back through this area after the final boss to turn the quest in. So if you're not one that has to turn the quest in, you likely may not encounter it, but it's over here. Right there. so that is a mini boss. That is the Cutting Sphere. It's a side boss, often overlooked because it's normally found after the end boss. Primarily because you have to run back through this area to turn the quest in. So, there are 4 abilities. Steam Wall. It's the boss's heavy attack and can deal a lot of damage if it isn't blocked. Ideally, the tank will have to face this ability, but be aware that you might have to block this too. Not blocked, it will also cause the player to get knocked over and immobilized. Heavy attacks in general from a boss tend to do that. Ground Quake. Jumping in the air, the boss will slam into the ground, causing a moderate amount of damage in an area around itself. If you are the tank, you can usually survive this by blocking, otherwise all other players should move away from the boss. Blade Storm. Spinning around itself, the spear will go into a frenzy mode, which was what the little pink circle was on the ground around the boss. This has to be blocked, and everyone else, not the tank, should step away from the boss because it causes a good amount of damage. Energy Blast is the last skill. In the beginning, when no one is at the boss yet, it will emit a small energy blast, causing a moderate amount of damage over whoever hits it. So, and it can hit multiple targets at once. Alright, so next boss will be the last boss, and it is the Sentinel that drops the monster helm. So, it's not overall too terribly bad. It isn't fun if you are new or still at the level where you're running normal dungeons. Alright, let's pull the big boy here. Ooh, don't get hit by that, no matter what. See, that hurts, even me. And I run veteran dungeons on a regular basis. Ooh. So, if it's at all possible, steer the boss away from those little green spiders. They heal. Those Dwemer spiders heal this boss. Have you walk around through that a little bit, but that'll feel good. So, the Sentinel of Rkugamz, however you pronounce it, has a green phase, a red phase, and a blue phase. Now, I realize you didn't get to see all the phases here. All the skeleton buddies acting crazy and running around the background. That's alright. Anyway, green phase smash is one of the abilities. Normal attack, we can hit everyone in front of the boss, and conal attack, that's that one that I said, oh, you don't want to get hit by that. It's very important for no one to stand in front of the boss except for the tank. It deals a moderate amount of damage, so be sure not to spin the boss if you are affected by it. Summon Spider, those were the Dwemer spiders. With the green circles on the ground, the boss will summon Centurion spiders that will find a random place in the room and spawn a healing sphere. If the boss stands in it, it heals itself up again. So make sure that the boss does not go into one of these areas. If you aren't fast at killing the boss, consider killing the spiders if it gets too crowded, especially in the midsection of the room. Then you have Decapitation. Ideally, this should land on the tank as it deals a really high amount of damage. You could mitigate the damage by blocking, and through blocking, you also won't be affected by the knockback from the heavy attack. In the red phase, you get the Cyclone, which can be a very nasty ability. If the player doesn't react fast enough, the boss will target one random player and will start spinning around while chasing this player. The boss won't be at normal running speed, but if you aren't sure about the distance, don't turn around and try to damage him, as this will kill you in a few seconds. Just kite him around the room and avoid any Centurion spiders that may still be lingering from the previous phase. The blue phase is Lightning Barrage. This ability will make the boss extremely stationary, but will also make it harder for anyone to attack him. The boss will start summoning lightning from his hammer hand, making it land on any player, not just on one target. Make sure to avoid getting hit by those and standing in them, as they will cause a lot of damage. Anyway, so that is Darkshade, and just one more note, there is some skips that can occur here. You can skip by leaving out two bosses, which are the Hive Lord and the Cutting Spear. To skip the Hive Lord, you can jump down as soon as the room opens up into a large cave towards the Netches. To skip the Cutting Spear, you just don't turn right after the big Netch. So there are a few skips in here. For those of you who are doing speed runs on veteran, or you're just trying to farm something out of here and you don't want to fight every single thing in the dungeon. So but yeah, that's it. That has been Darkshade. It's not that terrible, but now you know the mechanics, and now you know what to expect, and hopefully this was helpful. If you think it was, go ahead and give the video a like and a share. The biggest thing that comes out of that is it helps spread the information. Yes, it does benefit the channel, but Spy and myself have created this channel to help other players. Kind of, you know, for it to be a kind of a go-to for this type of information, and not come off as a, hey, we're telling you what to do, or this is, you know, best practice and stuff like that. Like, this is, you know, it's simply an explanation of what's going on in here. And if there are any little tidbits of knowledge that we happen to be aware of that most players probably aren't, we're going to include that too. So but yeah, anyway, that's Darkshade 1. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, you know, help get the word out. I know there are other players out there that need this stuff. You know, I have conversations, Spy and myself both have conversations with other players, you know, on a regular basis, so that don't quite you know, they need some assistance with, you know, different aspects of the game. This may not be one of them, but you never know. There's somebody out there that needs to know this information. So especially new players, and with the shakeup in the MMO landscape here recently, probably more so now than ever. Aside from like when game launched. So anyhow, this has been Jack. That's all I've got for this video. If there is a particular dungeon that you would like to see, leave a comment below and let me know. And I have no problems going out of order. I am simply going down the list right now because it seems to make the most sense and is the simplest way for me to do it right now. But if there is a dungeon that you would like to see covered, leave it in the comments below, and we will make sure to get a video out on that. So, all right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.